Okay, this is video number 2. We're going to go ahead and put the eye line in here. And I've got a bigger U-gouge. This is a number 11, and it's, I'd say it's probably almost a 1/2 inch. That's the metric side. Yep, about 1/2 inch. So what I'm doing here is just coming straight across the eye line. And I'm just going to go deep a little bit. I'm going to come back with another tool in a minute. So I'm just getting that channel in there. I'm not really trying to define it too much, just making sure it's there. So I can work on the nose. And I'm cutting all the bandsaw marks off there. I can see where it's a little bit darker, making sure that's come off. Okay, so in that I'm going to take my center line, and this center line should be about there up through the nose here. And I'm going to look at the width of my nose. I like where this is at. I'm going to decide how wide it's going to be up top here. And I'm just going to go a little bit there and then draw this down here to the ends, just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with that soft V. That's the soft V. Actually, let's go with the V tool. Nah, soft V. And I'm going to push here, starting at this line here. And this line here, I'm just putting at the crest of the top of the nose. So I'm going to push that tool here, and then it's going to come out this way. And then I'm going to come up this line here and push out that way. So it'll look like this. Let's see if I can get that on the camera there. Just like that. And I did come up a little bit taller there, but I'm not worried about it because I can come in and remove that right there. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then here I'm coming from the other direction because of the grain change. So, and I'm going to come back here and deepen this a little bit so I've got more of a shadow on that eye line. I think this is one of the big changes probably from the flat plane is better eyes. Instead of trying to do it all with a knife, which is possible. You can do some nice looking eyes with a knife, but we can get some more depth here with these gouges. Okay, so I'm gonna, now that I have this here, I've got a little bit of an edge where I push that tool in here. From this side, I'm just going to clean it up just a tad bit. I'm going to swoop a little bit here with my knife, making a smoother transition down onto the cheek. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to take that line, and this is where my nasal flares are going to come. So I'm going to come down the side here and then down, and that nasal flare also will become the smile line. And then on this side, it's going to come up like here. So this I'm going to do a stop cut here, which will give the angle of the nose. Stop cut here, and then remove all this, and that'll give me a mouth mound or a denture mound. So this one's coming down here. This one I'm kind of making a little bit more even. On other ones, I'll do up here more and down here more on where the smile line bends. And then looking at this, it's actually down here. So we'll start with a stop cut there, and then stop cut here down that smile line, and real softly without too much power, so I'm not pushing through the nose, just taking that chip off. Then I'm going to come back here and get the rest of this. And that gives me a lot of depth on the nose, a lot more shadow. I can clean up under here, and it pops that nose out really far. So same thing here. Stop cut. Stop cut the nose, and I'm angling away from the nose in this stop cut. So I'm not doing it straight in. I'm angling it away. Give me as much wood down there as I can. I can come back and remove more if the shape is not to my liking, but just clean that just a tad bit. So then we'll start taking some of these pencil lines off the nose. Around this just a bit. It's a good looking nose. Okay, so I'm going to add some nasal flares in here, and I've done this a lot of different ways. Sometimes I could take that same gouge and just push it in right here. I really like doing it with my knife, so I'm going to just take my knife and kind of swoop up in here, giving a little bit of a shadow there and a little bit of a nostril flare. There we go. And then this edge right here, I'm going to soften with my knife so it's not a hard edge. There we go. Okay, so before I do these ears and do too much on the eyes, I need to make sure that this is exactly where I want it to be. And I still have another feature that I'm adding in here, and that is the sideburns. So I'm going to draw these sideburns in here. And on the original, they didn't go all the way down the cheek. They stopped about here. So I'm going to do that and just up like here. And then make sure I get the same, about the same on the other side. Okay, so for here, I want to make sure I get enough depth here so that these aren't just flat on there like a pocket or something. I want them to actually stand out a little bit. So I'm going to grab that V tool, and I'm going to push along the top of this, and then take the chip out and cut around the bottom. There you go. So I've got some shadow there. I'm going to clean it up with my knife, and I am swooping again a little bit more above this cheek line to make sure that face does look narrowed as it goes underneath there. And I'm also going to round a little bit on the back side. The back side of that sideburn, and just helps add a little bit of shadow and a little bit of depth to it. Okay, so on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up here with the V tool. Start with the stop cut here. Round this just a little bit on each side. And that's actually a V cut is what that is. Okay, and then I need to clean this up. Okay, so let's think about our mouth in here. Okay, I'm going to shape this jawline just a little bit by taking the corners off, so it's just not stark and out there. Looks a lot better. Okay, smile lines, not smile lines, but mouth. I've got that corner there, and I've got that corner here. So the mouth needs to follow in, begin and end at those points. What I do in between here is open to interpretation. So I can do all kinds of squiggles or whatever, and then leave it there. Now I kind of, you know, if I was going to do this flat plane, I do it with a knife, and I do it at this angle here to add a plane coming this way, so that that again wasn't just a flat cut in there, that it had some definition to it. Because this is not flat plane, I'm going to go ahead and use my V-tool, and I'm just going to push this in here. I lose some of the curve to it with a V-tool compared to with a knife, because the knife I could have scrolled and held tighter to that pencil line. It's harder to get that with a V-tool, but the V-tool helps get my angle here for the top of the lip. So, okay. So I've got a mouth there. This sticks out really far, this jaw. And it's going to become my lip here, so I don't want it to hang out that far. So I'm cutting back just a tad bit. Okay. And pencil lines. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to come from the bottom of this, and I'm going to use anything that I want that's got a round point to it. So right now I've got this soft V in my hand. I'm going to start at the middle, and I'm going to go up and then down. So I'm going to start right here and then roll this down. And then I'm going to come from this side and meet the bottom of that. Just clean up all the way across. Okay, so I've got a small bottom lip there. I'm gonna put a little slice here and take a little bit of that lip so it falls up underneath that top lip. Same thing here. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave that chin. He hangs out there pretty far, but I think it looks kind of cool. And just clean it up and soften it at the bottom of it with my knife here. And there we go. So let's think about these eyes in here. Well, let's start with the ears. I've got this block here for the ear, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pear shape. I'm going to come in and down like this. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So just because I got this whole distance here doesn't mean I have to take up that whole side for the ears. I can take a lot less of that. And I'm going to start by chipping some of this away. I mean, I could just stab my knife in there and call it a day, but I'm going to actually use this and narrow the amount of wood there. And it'll help me get my angles a little bit better when I get down in there. Okay, now I'm going to come back with my knife and get that little curved part. And then scroll this whole entire thing. And do a deeper stop cut and come remove a little bit of material out from underneath it. So I'm going to shape the ear edge. There we go. A little bit more down here. So I'm going to do the same thing up here, and I'm just grabbing any old tool here. I'm giving it a little bit of a stop cut underneath this hat here. Removing a little bit of material there. We can actually come across that whole thing. I'm going to grab a V-tool. And this one's higher, so I'm going to pull a little bit more off. I'm going to do a stop cut here and remove the corner off of this hat hairline, or the sides of the hair. And swoop it just a little bit, give it a little bit of a movement into it. Okay. Okay, so now let me think about these eyes here a little bit. I need to go a little bit deeper on those eye cavities. Okay, so let me draw these in here. I'm going to do a small line up the side of the nose, and then a horseshoe that comes down just a tad bit. Up the side of the nose, and then a small horseshoe. So I've got this knife that's got a small point in here. I'm going to go straight down and then do that horseshoe. Remove the material up there in that corner. Come around, remove just a slice against that horseshoe. And then do the same thing on the other side. So straight down, stop, cut the horseshoe, move the chip out of the corner, remove the material from that side there. So I'm going to take my knife and remove a little bit underneath the sideburns here. Okay, so now I'm going to do my little triangle here in the upper part of that eye. I'm just going to go a little bit above the eye and add a triangle to the corner of that eye. That's just for interest. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit off this hat here. That was a lot, but I'm going to round this off just a tad bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my knife where the hat meets the top of the head. I'm going to do a deep stop cut all around here. Then from this side, I'm going to make and take a sliver out along the whole thing. So that just clean that edge out and makes the head look like it's in that hat. This line can come back a little bit so you can see where our head is, and you can see where the top of the hat sits. That can come back probably about quarter inch or so. And all I'm going to do is just take that corner off. I'm not going to worry about coming all the way across it. And I'm going to remove the corner off the back side of this hat. Same thing here. Oh, just took my hat all the way off. It happens, and so we will just add a little bit of glue to it before I start working on it again. piece back on here. If I can figure out the direction that it started. I probably should have looked at it before I, there we go. Looked at it before I started putting it back together, pre-fit it. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that sit in there. I'm not gonna touch it until it dries a little bit. I'm gonna just come down and keep working on something else. Okay, so I'm gonna add the second line here, which is the eyelid line, and I'm going really tiny here because of the size of these eyes. It doesn't need to be very big. A little bit of an eye line, and I'm just barely doing a stop cut, not deep at all, just scratching the surface pretty much, and then coming back here and removing just a little bit of material up against it. We'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to put the bottom of the eye right here, both sides. This one looks a little bit lower than the other one, so I'm going to come up just a tad bit. Right there. I'm just doing a stop cut. And then I'm going to remove the chip out of the corner of this eye. Remove the chip out of the corner of this eye on this side. I'm going to do the same thing here. Stop cut. Remove the corner. Move the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and put some, draw some pupils in here. Just like that. And I'm going to give it a little bit of eye bag, and I'm going to do that with my knife here. So all I'm going to do is come to the base of the eye bag and kind of roll my knife up, giving it a little bit of an eye bag. And then I'm going to come across on the cheek and roll this a little bit so it's got some contour coming down from the side of the nose down the side of the face. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm swooping a little bit, give it a little bit of a mound there for an eye bag. And then this one's got to come from this side because the grain. Swooping a little bit on the cheek as it comes down. There we go. So now let's look at our nose here. I'm going to put the nostril flares in. I'm going to do a center line here. I'm going to divide this distance in half and do another line here. Divide this distance in half and do another line here. Then I'm going to look for this is a number 7. It's very thin. I'm going to stab this over that center line right here and put that right in the center and just push it in. As I get to the lip part, I'm going to just ease up on my pressure because I don't want to stab that in there and create another little line. So, and that's it. And take that pencil line back off. Okay, I'm going to also do a little snot trap in here with this, just by pushing there, just like that. Okay, now let's work on these ears. The ears are going to be, the outer ear is going to come around like this. And this is the little So if you haven't gotten the new CCA ears book, check it out. There's some cool ears in there. Everybody's got their own version in there, and so you might find one that you really like. I kind of do my own thing, but it's an awesome reference there. Okay, so I actually messed that up already, but before I draw that, I need to scoop this ear out. So let me find a tool. This will work. So this is a flex cut. I don't know what the number is, but it's flat, probably 3 or 4 or something like that. But I'm going to start from the top end here, and I'm going to scoop down into the ear, just like this. Same thing on this side. Okay, now I'll come back and draw that. So I've got my little wing here. Okay, so I'm going to start with this little portion right here, Zargomatic something or other, but I'm just going to use my knife. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to remove the material from underneath it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so now in order to get that portion out, I'm going to use my, I'm going to use a little dockyard. So this is a 3mm dockyard, and I'm just going to round this to the inner side of the line. I'm going to give it a little bit of a shape here with my knife. Coming in just a tad bit right here before it comes down to the lobe. Cleaning up that lobe a little bit. I'm rounding the edge off just a little bit, putting a little bit more flare here right before the lobe. And there you go. I think that's fine for this. Looks good. So we'll come around to this side, do the same thing. I'm going to take this little tool, and I'm creating a channel on the inside, hollowing out the a little bit of trash in there. Okay, so that's looking good there. So now let's work on this section right here. I'm gonna, if this was flat plane, we'd pretty much just be doing something like this and just adding these planes on each side. This is not flat plane, so we're gonna give this a little bit more shape. First of all, let's go ahead and mark where our pocket is, and that's going to be right here. So I'm going to go ahead and soften this and just take the bull nose all the way down and out the side of the foot. And kind of roll my knife here, cutting off those bandsaw marks. Okay, then you can use a V-tool, or you can cut this with your knife, that line. And I want this facing away from the pocket, so you're actually cutting into the arm here to put this in here, so it looks like that arm is tucked into the pocket and not the other way around. Okay, so I'm going to round this edge here, and I'm going to take off this flat plane well, this carving here, or put a plane on it. Okay, and if you haven't done so, make sure you've removed all your bandsaw marks here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just put a plane on there for now. I'm going to cut this corner up into the neck and soften this corner. So this one right here is giving me a flat surface for that collar to come across. Okay, so that from that point there, this arm is pretty much flat plane. But we're not going to flat plane it. We want to have some definition here. We want a few details in here. I'm going to go ahead and also mark the sleeve, or this little sleeve here, and I need to clean that up just a tad bit. Okay, so this I'm just going to roll with my knife to do a stop cut there. Stop cut here, take a little bit of material against it. Okay, then I want to round this a whole lot more than what it is. Making sure that I leave my flat part for my collar. Okay, so I'm going to take this line here. I'm going to go deep, and I'm angling in towards the body. I'm going to remove some coming this way. And then I'm going to take this down and soften it too. So now I'm kind of rounding this edge out so it's not square anymore. But also I'm going to look at here, and this would be an elbow right here. So I'm going to avoid this section here, and I'm going to go above there, and I'm just kind of swooping in on this arm. Now I'm going to have some creases that come across, and that helps you break up the grain change as you come across from that elbow. So I need to go a little bit more on this on the sleeve here, on the cuff. So I don't know what any of this stuff's called. Cuff, arm, this thingamajiggy. Okay, there you go. So I'm adding some shape to this as I'm coming around. And I don't like these flat lines either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to swoop some of this, adding some irregular lines so it's just not some straight in cut. And then I can even take my knife and kind of swirl a little bit or scoop it and add some almost like texture to the arm as it's coming across. So same thing here. At this point, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to do a stop cut that's deep with my knife. I'm going to come and remove just a little bit of material there. And then I can start adding some texture as it comes into there, some wrinkle lines. And I even might come with a larger tool such as this and just give it some definition and some texture as it comes at a natural bend of where the shirt would lie in this crease here. And it's going to come from both directions because we've got the sleeve coming here. So this is breaking up that pattern coming across from the shirt. I mean, from the original stop cuts in the shirt. And we've got this elbow popping out. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. This side I've got to come in a little bit more to get beyond that hand. And making sure I have a flat area for my collar as it comes down. And remove this. And you can feel I'm going the wrong way on the grain direction, but I need to, because I need to get down in here. So as long as your knife is pretty sharp, you won't have an issue. I mean, because naturally I can only get about right there before I can come up. So, and I'm going to take care of these planes. I'm going to take off the bandsaw marks. Put my with my V-tool and mark that where the hand comes into the shirt sleeve. I'm going to, the bandsaw marks up here on the hand. And then add a cuff to this shirt. The cuff, just like on the other side, I'm just doing with my knife, just rolling this across, doing a quick stop cut. It's like this, and then I'm going to remove a little bit of material up against it. I'm going to cut this right here deeper. I'm also going to finish taking the bandsaw marks off the center portion here. And I'm going to soften the way it comes into the hairline. Okay, so now I need to start rounding this. I'm going to round this first. And actually right here, I'm going to do a stop cut, and I'm going to remove a triangle right here so it shows this rolling up and not just straight across. Because the arm would be kind of blocking it. There we go. So let's identify where our elbow is. And so I'm going to kind of leave the elbow alone about right here. Start swooping up in here. And that went real deep because I'm going the wrong direction. So, which will happen. Just means change it around or change your cut. Do a pull cut or a paring cut. So, and some of these knife marks, it's just giving, the shirt some movement to it. It would happen naturally. Your shirt's not going to look like it was on a hanger on your body. But do a deeper cut right here on this corner. Okay, so now I'm going to soften the edge here on this on the cuff, so it's not a hard line. Let's take these corners off the legs too. Okay, so just like we added these creases in here on this side, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You can do a series of knife cuts. I like to use multiple tools in here so that the creases don't all look like uniformed and they look more natural. So I can use knife, I can use a bigger gouge, I can come back with a smaller tool and just put a little bit more interest in there. Make sure they're coming out both sides. And you can get the book. There was a book on creases that shows exactly where they'd fall in different dress, and it's a pretty cool book. You can check that out. I've got it somewhere around here. Okay, so same thing in here on the back of the shirt. I mean, you can just throw a couple knife marks in here if you want, but let's go ahead and use our you're going to jump to a soft V, do a couple deeper ones in there, a couple coming from the shirt side. Okay, so now let's look at our shirt collar. It's going to come down, and that's not clean enough. Actually, I'm going to come up underneath this jaw here and swoop that back. Just cleans it up and adds a little bit of a interest. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to come down just a little bit here and do a V. Now in this V, I'm going to come at this angle right here, and I'm going to stab down in here pretty deep and then straight up. Same thing here. I'm going to angle it this way. And so what I did is I made another plane in that cut. So I'm going to remove this piece, but I'm going to stab again from this direction and try to match where I've got that cut in there. So it's giving me a plane on this side and a plane on this side. So that's pretty much a V cut in there. And I'm just taking the corners down back a little bit. Makes it look like a round neck in there. Okay, so now let's give him a collar. So I'm going to go straight line here, then down. And this down should be not any deeper, because then you don't have room to pull it up over the sleeve here. So just there, down. And this is just going to come to here and up. So when I cut these wings, I'm stabbing and doing a stop cut down here. If I was going to do it this direction, you have a chance of breaking that off. So I'm coming from this direction and down. And then we come and do the other side, and then remove that chip. And I'm also going to take this area right underneath the collar and kind of swoop it back in. So it's natural coming underneath that that chip I just took out. So that's it. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Stop cut. Stop cut. Remove that. Soften the wood underneath it. Move that little, finish the detail on down. swoop in here, give his belly some flavor. Okay, so you can do this with a knife, or you can just come across the V-tool. Got my knife in my hand, so I'm gonna stop cut and come across here. And here you got to be careful. If I'm bringing down the shoulder a little bit, you got to make sure I match it on the other side. See the difference here? It's come down quite a bit compared to where I am there. So let's do this one here. It's pretty close. Okay, so from here I can just lay this across and pretty much hit both sides. So okay, so I like to come back with this color and just put a little bit of movement in here so that it's not just flat. So I'm swooping it up to the hairline. It's tight on the side, so I don't know how much room to do it here, but I didn't do something. I need to put a jawline, separate the jawline. So this actually, from the ear, comes down here, and it's already coming across, so I'm not going to worry too much about that, but right here on both sides. And I'm just going to do it with a knife. I'm going to stab away from the face, stop cut, move stop cut right here. So, and you can determine whether you're going to bring the hairline back here and have a little bit of neck coming through here. I'm just going to leave this all as hair, so I'm going to leave it like that. And that's the way it was on the, that's the way it is on this guy. So I think we're about there for today. I think one more quick session. We're going to do the hands here. We're going to shape out and do the feet and the legs, put the detail in here. Got a lot of thinning out to do on these legs to thin them. But the upper part's looking pretty good. Hopefully you're enjoying this project. I'm going to round the hat just a tad bit more on the way out and take off all the bandsaw marks. And remember, on end grain like this, it's cut as thin and hold as tight to the wood as you possibly can. And make sure your tools are really sharp. But that's it, guys. Hopefully you've had some fun today. We'll be back here really quickly to do the rest of George. So thank you.